Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Philip Duncan. This week is kicking off on a wintry note. Things do warm up as we go through the middle of the week, but I have to say we've got another low coming in for the weekend. And this time next week, we may well be looking at another cold snap coming in. In fact, it might be even more wintry for some regions. So let's try and break it all down. Kicking off with the animated wind map for Monday and the areas in blue. Single digits. So it gives you an idea that we've got a cold start to the week with the big windy southwest flow right across the country. Now, if we examine why we've got a sou'wester, many of you understand this, but some of you don't. We've got a big high pressure system just off to our northwest and a big low out to our east. Perfect recipe to make for windy weather as we're right in the middle of that squash zone between those two air pressure systems. So let's take a look at lunchtime Tuesday, and the high that was out over Australia slowly starts to drift to our north, and that will alter the wind flows right across the country, but especially around the North Island. So you'll feel those colder winds gradually easing, especially later in the day. Some places will see winds turning more westerly by the end of the day, and it's still a little bit windy through the Southern Alps. You can see the isobars zigzagging through the valleys there, so a little bit windy still in some spots. But there is a change on Tuesday to a more westerly wind flow and away from that colder southerly. So by the time we get to Wednesday, things are actually warmer in a number of regions. There's actually even a slight subtropical flow for northern New Zealand, and elsewhere still westerlies, but it's improving. It's warming up a little bit, especially from where we've just been. Now by Thursday, we've got a bit of a split in our wind, and we talked about this last week, that we'd have two different airflows coming in to the country. So you've got the subtropical northerly coming down like that, and then it curves into a nor'wester for much of the North Island. Then it goes westerly, but actually if you go into the South Island and track the origins, it goes off the other way. So it's a southerly coming in for the south and a northerly coming in for the north. So many of you have westerly winds, but the origins of where those winds are coming from are very different at either end of the country. So it'll be a colder day again in the south, but a fairly mild day in the north, and plenty of rain and showers once more around western areas. And then on Friday, we're in a bit of a calm zone in between all the rough systems. So there's this low deepening off to our northeast, an even bigger low forming out in the southern Tasman Sea, and then we've got another storm off to our southeast. We're in a bubble of calm by the looks of it on Friday, maybe a little bit of a breeze in some areas, but not too bad. But this weekend it goes downhill with this very large area of low pressure moving in. So that drives in windy nor'westers for the North Island, cold and wet easterlies for the South Island on Saturday. And then by Sunday, it gets a bit messier, but you can see as the low starts to drift further away and consolidates out to our east, we get the south to southwest wind coming back to New Zealand. So let's kick off next week. That's the weekend. We've got a sneak peek at next week because of this potential southerly. So on Monday, similar to this week, maybe not quite as cold as this Monday though, but another southerly blast right across the country. Sou'westers in the North Island don't look quite so cold, but snow and rain and wintry conditions return once more to Southland, Otago, Fiordland and the West Coast. And our final map is for next Tuesday. So here's New Zealand up here. Low pressure, deep low pressure, 960s is the air pressure from that. And if you track the origins of the wind, look at this, all the way down to Antarctica. We actually haven't had a wind flow off the Antarctic ice shelf. We've seen a lot from around it, but this one potentially much colder. But whether it goes the whole way up the country or just brushes the South Island, that's yet to be locked in. But another cold snap is looking quite likely 1 week from now. Welcome to winter, finally. That's all from me. We'll update you again on Tuesday with the very latest.